Hello, everybody. This is Terry Arndt with College Transition Publishing. Thank you for joining us today and watching this video. Our special guest today is Kirrin Coleman, our lead author and editor for Life During College, College Transition Publishing, and Veteran Transition Publishing. Kirrin, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I'm proud to announce that today you be releasing your new edition of Life During College, as well as a new white paper for parents. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So I would start off, in fact, I have a copy of the white paper here, Life During College, the Parent's Guide to Success. So let's talk about that one first. It's interesting, the approach you took with the white paper. There's two different components to it. One focusing on the transition of the student, but also one focusing on the parent themselves. Can you go into why produce this white paper? What's the need out there?
Yeah, so most of our work has focused on the students transitioning into college, and that need that the students have to learn to become independent and talk to their instructors, really solidify their financial skills and those kinds of things. And we realize that their students' key supporters, their parents, could use some guidance as well, because ideally when you have a student who's moving from high school to college, you transition. Your role becomes more of a coach. You're more on the sidelines. You need to be, and it can be a rough transition for parents. It can be exciting, but it was definitely nice and interesting to figure out, like, what are the key things that parents need to know about what to expect and how to navigate that.
It is an interesting topic, as a parent of our first child who is transitioning to college here in the next year. I have the benefit of being involved with this industry, the first year experience process, and for years. So this is not going to be, in effect, a new experience, even though it is new. I kind of know what's ahead of me. Right. But I know a lot of my peers with children the same age are confused, they're lost, and I could certainly see some of the points brought up in this white paper being a benefit. But it's not just about how to support the child. The other section of it is really, focusing on them. So can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, so parents, also, they are so busy with their children, especially in those last couple of years, helping the students prepare for college applications, and if the student's involved in sports or some kind of outside extracurricular activity, they really take a lot of time. And so sometimes parents feel when the student leaves the house that, a need to refocus that energy. And so that section of the white paper is really about taking care of yourself, modeling for your now college student how to deal with change in a positive way. So, some positive approaches to change, even when it's a challenging transition.
So you mentioned a lot about coaching so far, in this process of modeling a lifestyle, but also coaching them through the process. That's a hard challenge for some parents when they've been so involved. Like you mentioned, it's like, driving my kids around to all these activities, getting them to participate, registering them, doing all this stuff. And now in a few months, they're going to be doing this on their own, right? And they're going to be experiencing this stuff. And it's hard for a parent to let go, but that's where this coaching component that you mentioned in the white paper comes over. Is like, not to be the doer, not to be the one that can, they continue to rely on, but start to give them these experiences of having to make these choices and be responsible, right. But how to coach them through the process. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. My other job, of course, is teaching high school English. I teach mostly juniors and seniors. And I also have a sophomore age high school daughter. So, that transitioning to coach begins ideally a little bit before college, when you start to step back and ask them questions about their, ask them questions that prompt their own thinking rather than telling them what to do. We gradually move towards that, but still they do tend to rely on us, because the the application process can be so challenging, and it's hard enough for an adult to fill out a FAFSA form, much less to have a 17-year-old or 18-year-old do that on their own. And right now I can check my daughter's grades when she's a sophomore, and I try not to very often, but I have that ability. And of course, when she's in college, it won't be there, and it's good for her and good for me that she will own that, even though I'll be paying for part of it.
Yes, agree.
Right.
So it's interesting. I'd encourage the people who are watching this. I know they're going to conferences, going to events, and listening to other webinars. There's a lot of requests for information about how do we deal with parents on campus engagements, how to instructors, how to advisors, how do you work with parents and give them this guide of like how to support their son or daughter as they're going through this college experience. So it's a great white paper, a very easy read, 7-8 pages long, and certainly it's free. We want this resource to be available out there. So on our website, there's a link to request a copy. Please take advantage of that. And certainly if it's a benefit that you can use within your own program, please let us know. We'd be happy to support that. One of the other things I want to bring up is your new book,
yeah.
Life During College. Certainly it's been around for about 14 years now. We're in our 6th edition now. Mm-hmm. And so give me some highlights. What are some things that people are going to see changed in this new edition?
Right. So the big changes are there's a new chapter that's focused on veteran students and the unique challenges that they face when they come out of the service and enter college, as well as the strengths that they bring to that experience. So we worked with Dr. Nicholas Osborne on that. He's a specialist in veteran students and that transition. So he just has a lot of information about how to make that transition smoother for student veterans and also for their classmates and professors. And we also included more information about the learning process based on current neuroscience studies or new neuroscience studies. And we included some other information related to diversity. And, we beefed up that section of the chapter to reflect, what's going on in the world right now.
So the focus on veterans, I'm interested in that one because, I work with Nick, as you do, on another version of the Life During College that's specific to that audience. But the choice to include this chapter in the book was really driven by the largest increase of new student population in the collegiate market today is the student veteran population. And so colleges across the country are starting to see this new group of students that have never been on your campus and the numbers that they are. And so a wider range of staff, faculty, students are engaging and working with these student veterans. And so this chapter goes into not only for the student veteran about how to help with the adjustment to the campus world, but as you mentioned, also to instruct the educators, the faculty and staff, and the students about how to engage this older, in most cases, population of students on their campuses as well. So good addition. These other ones that you mentioned, they sound like enhancements to the existing chapters, correct? So someone who's been using the book for the last 9 years, they're not going to have to revamp their whole syllabi.
No, it's definitely, we've revised things to reflect current best practice. And, we went through, of course, and updated all the statistics and included information that people need to know now in 2018 that wasn't present when we were writing our first edition. But an instructor will find like the core content is the same. The layout is still, easy to read. There are still exercises at the end of each chapter. So it really is a book that provides, it's a guidebook. So it enhances their program. And yeah, we've polished it and revised it to reflect our day and age. But cool. The content's relatively similar.
Well, so you bring up the point of the you know, the layout. The book is really meant to be, it's not a textbook in the true sense, it's more of a guide. And I think that's, you know, I know that's why a lot of our clients have selected us, where they come from a program where they've kind of had their own internal, you know, resources, and they might have 12 or 10 or whatever different segments of the class, and people are each teaching it, and they're really missing out on a foundation that all of them can build on and still bring in their own unique pieces to it. And so our book has been a segment for that audience. So for those who are not familiar with the book, if you haven't seen it, you know, we'll have some information at the end about how to get a copy. But, you know, that really is the driver. And I'm sure you can agree that, you know, there's a lot of different ways the book's being used. It's not just a textbook for FYE program, but a number of other options as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Some people are using it for their orientation programs, bridge to college programs. Running Start students sometimes get copies of that. So it's very adaptable.
Yeah, great. And for the cost, it's because we often get that question. It's like, well, there's a number of other products out there, publications from some of our larger publishers that are out there. How is yours different? Certainly price point's one. The second one is ours is made in America. Most other textbooks are made overseas. Number three is that it's really, when you look at this little book, there's 27, 28 chapters in it now. And it's a little 6x9, and it's a very, very quick, easy read. You know, so it provides that foundational information that the student or instructor is looking for, to give them kind of a basis for a discussion, so they could read 4 or 5 chapters, come to class, and the teacher can focus on very specific information, but know the student's got the core basis for all the other pieces. So yeah, great job on presenting that book. Awesome. So I know this is one of many of the Life During College series. Describe that for the people who aren't familiar with the variety of books that we offer in this Life During College segment.
Yeah, so the first couple of editions of Life During College were just very much geared toward the traditional college student, or so a student transitioning almost directly out of high school into college, maybe having their first experience in a dorm and that kind of thing. And as we developed and got more information from people at conferences and other educators, got feedback, we realized that there were some opportunities to take the basic content of Life During College, like how to study well, how to do well on tests, how to budget, those kinds of things, but include other chapters that are really geared towards a specific audience. So we have Life During College, the Veterans Edition, because veteran students, no matter their age, are not traditional students. Even if they're very young, they do not need a chapter about homesickness. They need other chapters that will address, that sometimes rough transition of moving from service into college and brushing off the skills that they might not have used for a while. So we worked on that with Nicholas Osborne, Dr. Osborne from the University of Illinois, who specializes in veteran student issues and that kind of thing. And then another target audience that gets its own book is Life During College for the community college learner. Again, there's a broader range of students at a community college. So everybody from Running Start students to older students who are, pursuing a second career or pursuing their first degree after having a career. And we worked with Tanya Berman on that from Iowa.
Western Iowa, yeah.
Western Iowa, thank you. And she's the Associate Dean of Students there. So she brings a lot of information about what community college students need to know, the kinds of unique challenges that they face, as well as, the range of just types of students that there are attending community college. And then the other edition is for the online learner. A lot of people are choosing online learning as either as a supplement to their in-person learning, or they're doing it online learning independently. And that's their core way of attaining a degree or advanced certification. And so we worked with Stephanie Williams from Mesa Community College, who specializes in instruction technology, and learned a lot from her about, you know, the kinds of online learning platforms there are, what to know about online learning deadlines and communication with peers and instructors, things that you don't encounter on a traditional college campus.
Right. So, but out of all these books, the core is really the same.
Yeah.
You know, you'll see chapters on studying, you know, budgeting, personal development, things like that. But as you mentioned, it's like, you know, community college is like, hey, we're going to take you wherever you're at and work with you from the traditional student to that to an online learner. But the foundation of these are all the same, right?
Right.
All right. Awesome. So one of the things I do want to wrap up with this discussion is, I know a lot of the viewers are familiar with our backgrounds and resources on this, but there's also a group that are new and curious about, you know, College Transition Publishing, how we got started, and where's this, you know, the background for the foundation of these books. For those who aren't aware, this was, in fact, a project I started when I got my MBA. It was to create a resource for college students as they transition into and out of college. And our first books were really focused on the financial transition after students leave and graduate college. And it was interesting, the college market came back to us and said, wow, we really love the foundation and these short chapters and the concise information. It'd be great if we can build something like this for our incoming students, and really more about the financial side. And so we introduced some drafts, and they said, well, since you're already going to be introducing financial information, maybe bring in some of the basics about the fundamentals, the study habits, the taking notes, interacting with your professor, all those different chapters. And so it was really a back and forth and really industry driven. So some of our recent editions, you'll be able to go through and just see lists and lists of colleges and instructors and staff that worked with us in developing the books. But it wasn't until probably a couple editions ago that we were able to connect with you, Kirrin. When I was going through and I was looking for an editor to help out, I moved to Bainbridge Island and reached out to the community and said, hey, I'm looking for someone that not only has in touch with that transitioning age, but also is an amazing writer. And boom, found you. So maybe introduce a little bit about that connection and your background that led you to take on this project.
Sure. So I am an English teacher. I've been teaching English for now 20 years. And while I've taught 9 through 12, most of my time has been with the upper class, you know, the 11th and the 12th graders. So those students who are really on the cusp of going into college. Yeah. So when you reached out, it just struck me as a really cool project, a necessary one. I saw the need for students that I currently had, and students that I had already had. I had heard independently that there was a need for that kind of information. So it was cool to be invited to work on a project like that. I'm always collecting information and resources and trying to stay on top of best practice for everything related to my job. So this gave me an additional focus for that. And then I had this resource with my students. So I've involved students throughout the years. So, I'm connected through LinkedIn and Facebook and other social media with former students. And sometimes I'll reach out to them, those who are currently in college or who just are new to the workforce, and ask them for some ideas about, what are the new hot things that I should be considering as I revise. I've gotten feedback from students on specific chapters. So I've really been able to engage with my students in a way that feels not just meaningful to me, because I definitely benefit as the writer doing the research, but I think that they get a lot out of that as the experts, and they really drive some of the content.
And so really it comes down to being really a kind of a grassroots component, because, over these years that we've worked together, it's been interesting that you know, for example, we did the My First Year Experience, where we followed 6 of your students, former students, as they transitioned through the college experience. So we did like a month, every month we did an interview with these students, asking questions about, you know, their experiences, what they're experiencing, asked them about challenges, just to validate some of the information, but also asked them to take advantage of the resources that were produced and the relevance, you know, that they noted that they experienced while they were going through the college experience. So it's interesting to see this dynamic that I believe is unique to us, where you're touching the students in your professional faction as they're going through this last phase before they go to college. We've been able to work with a group of those students to give us feedback on the specific chapters and say, hey, no one uses Facebook anymore. Everybody uses Snapchat. You know, those kind of little points that we need reminders on, but also some feedback about the actual chapter and if it's relevant in that experience. So great information. I want to thank you again. I know we're running out of time. I want to make sure everybody has time to enjoy the video, but also explore our website. lifeduringcollege.com is the core one to learn more about Kirrin's products, her publications, as well as the other resources we have. Again, to take advantage of our white paper, please submit the request and get a copy of that. And then certainly, if you'd like to learn more, receive a copy of her new edition that's coming out, please let us know. You can coordinate a time to schedule a meeting with Kirrin, myself, or one of our other team members to get some information to you about that publication. Kirrin, anything else you'd like to end off? Or
no, I really enjoy being part of this publication, and it's fun to launch a new one. And so thank you for inviting